Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Detroit AllyCat. I'm really excited to have you here. If this is your first time coming to my channel, I do everything spooky, true crime, weird stuff, anything bizarre, not normal, anything you could think of. I cover it. Today we're going to be talking about how I found out that I was featured on the Netflix documentary Amy Bradley is Missing. I had absolutely no idea that I was featured on it, but I do want to talk about it. It's been a very long time since I covered that case, and I would love to have you join me. Please think about staying with me if this is your first time at my channel. And without further ado, let's get spooky. Okay, so let's talk about the documentary Amy Bradley is Missing. I guess it's like number two on Netflix right now, which is super exciting for the Bradley family. I had absolutely no idea that I was in this documentary. I guess there's like this fair usage act or something like that. I really haven't looked into it. I'm not bothered. I'm not shook. I don't think that I deserve any money for being on the Netflix documentary. I wish they would have put my name on the thing so I could at least, have people come to my channel and check it out. But to be honest, I haven't been doing YouTube videos on the regular. So I'm not mad. I'm not bothered. I could see how other people would get bothered. But the reason that I did the case that I ended up on the documentary for is Amy Bradley. And the reason I ended up on that documentary is all the reasons I made a YouTube video. I made a YouTube video because I thought that it would do some good. I really wanted to show the world things that they had never heard about, they weren't aware about, and I wanted to do it in a very real way that they could relate to me. I'm not a famous YouTuber. I don't have a huge following. I really don't think I'm anybody special. I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just like your average American girl. And I have just done a lot in the true crime world, and I felt like if I covered this case, people would hear about this woman who went missing and also hear about what happens on cruise ships and maritime laws and all these things that happen in the international waters because it's so important. I remember this case like it was yesterday, honestly. But I will tell you that I watched a piece of the documentary that my friend that I haven't spoke to in 10 years, she was actually in the army with me, saw, and it kind of upset me. And so I had to go back and watch my own YouTube video, which is really weird, which is really weird. You know how you get weirded out when you hear your own voice? Well, the same applies when you see yourself 5 years prior and you realize that not only are you watching yourself, but you're watching a video that the whole world is watching of you too. Because to be frank, I feel like I sounded like an airhead. I had no context to what I was saying. I did not understand why I said what I said, but you know, I want to expound on it, but I did watch my video last night, and now I do realize what I said, and I wish they would have just gave me a few more seconds because I could have sounded less of an idiot, but they didn't. So they also didn't ask my permission, which is fine because if it helps the Bradley family, then I'm totally cool with it. So where do I begin? Do I begin about myself in the documentary or do I begin about Amy Bradley? Let's begin about Amy Bradley. Amy Bradley was a 23-year-old woman. I did have to pull up some facts because it's been a hot minute since I've actually looked at this case. So she disappeared on March 24th, 1998. She was born in May 12th, 1974. She disappeared on a cruise ship called Rhapsody of the Seas. She's been missing for 27 years. It says 3 months and 27 days, but I feel like it's been a little time since somebody put this on here. Her father's name is Ron Bradley. Her mother's name's Iva Bradley. She has a brother. I'm pretty sure he's known as Brad Bradley. Okay, so these are like all the facts, but I'm just gonna give you like I remember the case pretty hardcore. So I'm gonna give you the parts of the case that I remember, like I've committed to memory because I some cases I just will never forget. And these were this case was one of them. Born in Virginia, I'm almost certain it was Virginia, and her family's got, like, the cutest little Southern accent, but the thing that you really need to understand about Amy Bradley is that she was very tight with her family. Like, I know a lot of you guys out there have had, like, really hard, toxic relationships with your family. I, as well, have had that situation. So it's hard to understand what it's like to have a family that's, like, close and really together, and it just I wouldn't say that it makes the case more important, but it does bring a certain amount of tragedy to it because they really were a good, caring family, and not to say that people that don't have a good, caring family are not tragic, sometimes it makes it even more tragic, but yeah, so they were really tight, and I believe either Iva or Amy's father ended up winning these 2 tickets to the cruise ship, and they wanted to bring Amy with them and her brother. I think they had to buy them extra tickets and get the approval to go with them on the cruise, and they were going to the Caribbean, and then, so they got the approval, and they asked Amy and her brother to go with them, and they were gonna go as a family. They were only gonna get 1 cabin. Amy and her brother were gonna share a bed, and her mom and her dad were gonna share a bed, and the room had this cute little balcony, and it had, like, 2 chairs. I'm just gonna be honest, cruise ships really creep me out, and it's not because of, like, the cruise line itself, even though I do think that personally is creepy. I just think the whole fact that you've got, like, this big ship on the ocean, and it's being run like basically a bus, but like a big fancy bus with like rooms and everything. And it's on the ocean. Like the ocean is like the Earth's space. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't. It's just so deep and never ending. And there's so many things in the ocean. Like they still to this day have not found certain species that exist in the ocean. And that's like mind boggling because it's the same thing as getting into a spaceship and going to outer space. I mean, outer space is never ending, but pretty much, this is 2025 and there's still things in the ocean that we have not found. And it just creeps me out. It really does. It creeps me out. I like the ocean. I think it's beautiful. I'd like to look at it from a beach. Do not put me on a boat and keep me on the boat and keep me confined with all these people and you can't get off or escape or anything. But that's just my personal opinion, probably one that you guys didn't want, but I'm letting you know why I think it's scary. I also think that people really don't understand how cruise ships work, and that's something that I did talk about in the documentary. I talked about like how I thought that there were nefarious things that happened on a cruise ship, and I really didn't go into what the nefarious things were. So I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about the nefarious things. I personally do not think that cruise ships care about you. They don't care. They just want to get you on their cruise ship. They want you to consume food. They want you to have drinks and they want you to buy their tickets, to buy their things, to buy everything on the ship and then they want you to leave and they want you to do it all over again. And to them, it's just turn and burn, turn and burn. Have these people come on here and get off. And that is, I mean, that's capitalism, right? There's some rich dude or multiple owners that own this cruise ship that are making this happen, but it's like all the bad things of capitalism. Like you're not allowing people to stay on these, like, islands or, like, to stay, like, overnight and live with the cultures that they're going to see. It's like whoever owns the cruise ship is taking you, and to the people, it seems like a good deal because they're hitting all these places, but I just feel like, I don't know, if you're gonna go visit another country, you should go visit the other country. But back to cruise ships. So, the other thing that I feel is nefarious about cruise ships is that these cruise ships are massive, like massive, like, like the size of Titanic. And they're on the sea or the ocean. Sea and the ocean are the same thing, yes. And the thing is like maritime laws. I guess you can have different jurisdiction or maybe the laws have changed, but the thing about like airspace and maritime laws, like ocean laws, is there's really not any good organization to it. Like, I guess they have that group of like European countries that come together and then they make laws about the ocean. But like, I really feel like it's the wild, wild west because I feel like this like big ship is like a city and it's on the ocean and the sheriff of the ocean is the captain. Like, the captain can tell you what's gonna happen. He can kick you off a boat. He can tell you what laws you have to follow on the boat. Like, you have to listen to the captain. And this guy, he has got, like, pressure from this corporation, this billion-dollar corporation to turn and burn all these people. So his first priority, if something happens on the ocean on a cruise ship is not gonna be to make sure, like, take for instance, Amy Bradley, to make sure that Amy Bradley is found, not to make sure that Amy Bradley's family is doing okay, to make sure everything that could possibly be done to stop somebody from smuggling Amy Bradley on an island, all the things that should happen to stop that from happening, he might not do that, and he did not do that in this case. So, I just think that, like, if you want to off somebody or grab somebody and shove them in, like, some human trafficking ring or, do all these crazy things, like sell drugs, like, cruise ships, that's where it's at. Like, that's where all those horrible things can happen. And, like, I just pirates are real. I don't know if you guys knew that, but, like, they really are real, and they are not like Pirates of the Caribbean. No. They have machine guns, and they got these little fast ships, and they do not care. They will come, and they will kill you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you know what? I am not monetized anymore, so I can say whatever I want, but, like, you gotta think about that. So you got these little pirates, like, running around, and they're in the Caribbean, but they're not like Pirates of Caribbean. I'm sorry. It's just kinda ridiculous at this point, right? But a lot of that stuff that's, like, really deep and dark, it happens in those islands because I mean, I guess it's just had, like, a really dark history, and it just has continued, and it's evolved, and it's 2025, and, like, it's the same stuff happening that happened 2 or 3 years ago. We just have better technology, and they have better weapons, and they're more organized about it. And I really do think that this dark, nefarious, like, background on all this stuff is why Amy Bradley went missing. But let's go back to the Amy Bradley story. So, Amy Bradley is this 23-year-old girl. She's like super physically fit, okay? She's been a lifeguard at certain places. She knows how to swim. I think she plays basketball really good. She's just a really fit girl, but she's also a tiny petite girl. She's like 110 or something. And I feel like she just she's she's really pretty too. She's just your all-American girl and you know, I guess I was gonna say something, but I felt like it wasn't time to, but I'm just gonna say it. So Amy Bradley also had come out as a lesbian, which is something I did not cover because I probably did not feel that it was necessary, but I think it is necessary that we talk about it right now because can you imagine being a lesbian and then kidnapped and thrown into the like a sex trafficking ring and forced into things that you do not want to do. Like, I mean, you're already going to be forced to do things you don't want to do, but now we're going against like I don't know, it's just awful. It's just awful, okay? I think you guys know where I was going with that, and I don't think there's any good way to say what I was trying to say because I feel like once you've been kidnapped and put in some like human trafficking ring, it's just awful. It's awful. I don't know if there is necessarily a good story or something that's worse than another story to come out of that because I just don't. I don't. And so she goes on this cruise and all 4 of her like herself and her other 3 family members are there and they end up like her parents go to bed, her and her brother go to this nightclub, and, her brother goes back to the room. She ends up meeting one of the staff members. His name was like, yeah, his name was Alistair, which is crazy because, like, Alistair Crowley or whatever. But this guy's name's Alistair, but his nickname is Yellow. And on the Netflix documentary, they said his nickname was Yellow because of his hair. Right. I'm just gonna say what nobody else will say. His nickname was Yellow because he was a light-skinned black guy, and it's a very common nickname in the islands to call them yellow, or at least that's what I read. If I'm wrong, you can come for me, you can get me, whatever, but that's why it doesn't really matter. It's just a small little detail that I was like, "Hey, that's not what, I found out." But and then another thing that I found out about the documentary and what I said is this is actually pretty cool. I kept calling it Curaçao and I had no idea. I thought it was a different like continent or country than Curaçao, because I looked somewhere on how to pronounce it, but it is Curaçao. But all this time we've been calling Curaçao Curaçao. It's actually pronounced Curaçao. And I'm not sure if you guys are drinkers or but there's this drink, it's called Blue Curaçao. It's actually one of my favorite drinks, but it's actually now there's like this big debate because it's not really Blue Curaçao, it's Blue Curaçao. I'm sure I'm saying it a little bit wrong, but I guess I was closer than Caraco. Anyway, so she meets this guy named Yellow. Apparently, he's dancing with her all night. They're getting drunk. They're having fun. Around 5-ish, Amy Bradley goes back to her room. She's sitting on the balcony, and her dad wakes up around 5-ish and sees her there and thinks, "I'm gonna go back to bed for 20 minutes." And the weirdest part of this whole case is between 5 to 5:30 or a 20-minute time slot at that time, and honestly, 5 in the morning is like, you're getting close to daybreak. Apparently, that is when Amy went missing, and there were a couple college students on the boat that saw her go up the elevator, allegedly, and they saw her go up the elevator with Alistair, Yellow, and that's how they remembered. But there are some things and then her father woke up 20 minutes later, he went to go find her, he couldn't see her. He ran around the boat looking for her, he looked everywhere, he was freaking out. Wakes up the rest of the family. Basically, he's, like, trying to get the captain or this guy who's, like, running the like, helping run the ship. I don't know what his name is, but they would not stop any of the people to so they're right next to Caraco, Curaçao, and all the people are getting ready to board the island to go check out the island because that's what you do on cruise ships. But the captain and the captain's assistant or whatever, they would not stop these people from going on the island, and the family was like, "You have to stop these people." And the reason for that is because, you know, somebody could sneak Amy on the island some way, somehow. I know it would be complicated, but, like, there's 3,000 people getting off this boat. There's no way that they can pay attention to every tiny detail of everybody getting off the boat. Like, There's probably areas where the employees are getting off the boat and dumping garbage or doing their thing, and, like, they could sneak her off that way, but the captain really wasn't participating in this, like, he was not participating in stopping this, and the family was really upset. Long story short, Amy goes missing. They can't find her. A couple days later, the family has to get off the boat, fly home, and, you know, it's a whole long story, but Amy's never found. A couple years after Amy went missing, online on one of these, like, sex resort websites, and a sex resort website is, like, you go to certain islands or certain places, and they have, like, sex vacations, and it's basically you go there and you are paying to hook up with these people and just have yourself, like, your fantasies come true, right? And Amy ends up on one of these websites, and they can't say for certain if it's her, but they took pictures and they sent it to the FBI, and they did the, like, whole face matching thing, and it was 99.9% certain or something like that, really high. And if you look at the pictures, you can kinda tell it's her. I mean, she looks like she's been through a lot. She looks like her eyes look a lot deader, and she doesn't look like she would look if she wasn't in some state of, like, awfulness. And so, yeah, it's just a horrible case. And that's the last time anything they had happen with her. There was a couple sightings, like this Navy petty officer found her in a brothel, or allegedly he saw her in a brothel, and she came up to him and she was like, "I'm Amy Bradley," and he was kind of a jerk to her and didn't tell anybody until 2 years later because he was retiring, didn't wanna get in trouble, and, like, by the time that he told anybody, the place had burned down. They did not say that in the Netflix documentary, and it really bothered me because they, like, interviewed this guy in the Navy, and he was on the documentary, and he's like, "Well, I coulda just not told them." "Okay, sir, but you told them, and it really didn't do anything except let them know that they could have got her, but because you were so worried about saving your own skin, you let some woman, like, God knows what happened to her." So, I wish I could, like, ugh, I wish I could just sit that man down, but, I mean, he got his retirement. They should take his retirement away because 'cause you're supposed to have, like, a certain amount of, like, moral compass to you to be in the military, and if he's right, he might have got in trouble, but I feel like coming out and standing up for the fact that some woman told him she was in trouble, maybe his chain of command would have, like, got over that. I don't know, but it's just so jacked up that, like, his retirement was more important than helping someone that was probably in a human trafficking, like, ring. I it just irked me. It irked me so much, but, and there's also this other woman that said she saw Amy Lynn Bradley in Barbados, and I just the story doesn't sound that right to me. She talks about how she saw her, and then, like, after that, like 10 minutes down the road on the documentary, she says that they talk about how she has kids or a child, and I don't know. It just sounded weird. I don't maybe it all did happen the way she said it happened, but the sad fact of the matter is that when a case like this gets to be so big, um, people wanna be involved in it. People want their 5 minutes of fame, and it doesn't matter that it has to do with some humongous tragedy, and that's just you have to take everything with a grain of salt, and I feel like that's a lot of the reasons that if you've ever dealt with a cop and he acts like he doesn't believe you, it's probably because everybody's got something to say when something happens and they really don't know, like, what the truth is, and they've heard everything, and I know that they don't have a right to be a jerk, but honestly, there are people out there that will just pretend or be a part of something. They're not part of it, but they just wanna be a part of it because they want that attention. And I don't know, it just makes things so much worse. And I can't figure out, like, and I have a hard time with that because I feel like, am I being part of the problem by making these YouTube videos? which is gonna bring me to the next point, you know. All right. So one of the things that I said on the Netflix documentary is I felt like Amy was marked. Now, here's the reason why I said that I felt like Amy was marked. Her family went to dinner on these cruise ships. They always have these ginormous, like fine dining things. And her mother said that she felt like everyone was staring at her. And then somebody came up to her and was basically like, "Do you want to go to this, like, club on Aruba?" It's just a very strange thing for an employee to say to, like, somebody that's on a cruise ship. Do you wanna leave the cruise ship and go to a club in Aruba? I don't know, that's weird. And then when Amy went to the club, her brother said that he felt like immediately people were staring at Amy, and somebody looked at Yellow and, like, nodded their head, and they were staring at her. Now this is the part that really, like, hit me and made me decide to make a video. I feel like Amy Bradley's family watched my YouTube video. I think Iva watched my YouTube video because there's this part that they take this snippet of me talking and I say, you know, I felt Amy was marked. And then afterwards, what you don't hear me say is I say, I feel like they saw her, they wanted her, they took her. And on the documentary, her mother says, "They saw her, they wanted her, they took her." And when I watched myself say that, I had chills because I felt like this mother of this woman, so messed up, watched my video and, like, she was happy that people were covering her case because, man, it gets me every time. Her daughter's l like, her daughter was still alive, like, we kept her in everybody's mind, and, you know, we were telling the world, like, "Look, this woman is still out here. If you see her, if you find her, or you have any information, please help us," and by all these YouTube videos coming out, it, like, helped, and I don't know, that's why I made the videos. That's why I get so involved, or I used to get so involved in the cases, because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. So the fact that this woman said everything that I said, or that one snippet of what I said, man, that just really got me. And I mean, I hope if Iva Bradley is watching this, I just want you to know, like, my heart really goes out to you, and you're such a strong woman for doing everything you've done because I can only imagine what it's like to have your daughter taken. It's just kind of awful. God, I did not plan to have this moment, but it just, like, touched me, and I didn't want to, like, make a video about how, like, I'm on Netflix, even though, like, you know, that is, like, a thing, but, like, what's more important to me is that it mattered. It mattered. It was part of some kind of a effort on telling people about Amy Bradley and cruise ships, you know, because they on the documentary, they had some representative of this cruise ship, Rhapsody of the Sea, and it wasn't the captain, but it was obviously the assistant. I'm not editing out the fact that a couple tears fell. I'm sorry. It just happened. But this guy, this representative of Rhapsody of the Sea, first off, he goes on there and he's talking about Alistair and how he's, like, such a great guy, and, like, okay, maybe, but, like, I don't know. It just and then he talks about how he would dance with, like, older ladies, like, senior citizens to make them happy, and it's almost like he was hinting that that's the reason why Alistair was dancing with Amy. He wasn't dancing to make Amy happy. Like, you could tell that, like, he was dancing that way because he was drunk and he was having a moment at the club. It had nothing to do with, like, helping, you know, atmosphere of fun for the cruise, like, and I don't know, like, why. And then he talks about, like, how they would not stop people from leaving the ship to go on the island, and he's like, "We absolutely couldn't do that because all these people paid all this money." And you know what? I get that. Yeah, all these people paid this money to go on this cruise ship. Totally. Yeah, you are gonna lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to have complaints, of course. But, like and of course, like, you could totally go on a Netflix documentary and talk about how you can't let these people not go on the island because of the money. But listen to yourself. Like, if you had a kid and they went missing, would you wanna hear that? Would you wanna hear that? No. No. And you know what? You can do whatever you want because it's on the ocean, and there's not really that great of laws to protect anybody on the ocean, if any laws. But, like, you should just be a good person. And the people on the cruise ship that they're like 3 or 4 hours of their life is disrupted, like, they should just be good people and understand that somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's friend, somebody's whoever Amy was to them is missing. This life is missing. And for 2 or 3 hours of inconvenience, they're not even asking you to give money or do anything. They're just asking you to stand still for a minute. Stay tight until we find her. You guys can't even do that. And I don't care how you spin it on Netflix. I don't care what your public relation degree is. You sound like an ass, okay? You sound like an ass. And I would not want to take my family on a ship that you have any responsibilities for because my family means nothing to you. And the only thing that means anything to you is the fact that the people that are paying money are happy. But in the long run, they're not gonna be happy because now you have this situation on your hands, which, sir, I think you are partially responsible for because all you had to do was stop the people from leaving the ship. Amy was on that ship. There was no way Amy couldn't be on the ship. And that brings me to my next moment on the documentary that kind of upset me because, like, the first thing I saw was me going, if she would have fell off the boat, she would have swam. Oh my god, did I sound like an airhead, guys? I sounded so bad. Okay, let me explain that. So the reason that I think I sounded like an airhead, because there was no context to that. That sounds like I'm just saying if you're on a cruise ship and you fall into the ocean, you can swim. You cannot. Okay? You will hit the ocean, which in itself will hurt because it's like boom. But also, if you're in the middle of the ocean, the current, the riptide, it's very deep. You probably will drown if you're in the middle of the ocean. But the part that I didn't get to say in the documentary was that the ship was next to Curaçao. It was right there. The port was there, the dock was there. If she would have fell off the ship, it might have been like 1/10 of a mile to get to the land. So, yes, she might have hit the water and hurt herself because it would have been like hitting a brick wall in the ocean. That's what it feels like when you fall from as high as Amy was. I don't know how high she was, but it had to have been at least a good 40 to 50 feet, which at that point, it's going to hurt. But she could have swam to the beach. And if she hit the water and went unconscious, then her body or her injured self would have been pushed to the island. There was a man that participated in the investigation, and I think it was like the sheriff or the one cop that worked on Curaçao. And you know what? This guy got more involved and did more things for the family than everyone. And he said that if she fell off the boat, he knows how the ocean works. He knows how the waves work. He knows how it pushes things. Her body would have been pushed onto the island. It was never. He said they would have found something. And like the whole big argument is like the sharks got her or the birds got her. Okay, an arm, a foot, something would have went to the island. A piece of clothing. There would have been evidence. A woman went missing last year in, the Bahamas while I was there. I went to the Bahamas. Can you believe that? It's crazy. But a woman went missing there, and her cell phone was found in the ocean. And, like, whenever somebody goes missing like that and they're in the ocean, they're gonna find them. Lacey Peterson, which is another true crime, like, case, her husband allegedly, I mean, he's in prison serving time, so I guess I can say it. Her prison, like, hooked up these, like, cement weights to her arms and legs and threw her off a boat, right? And part of her body and the baby, okay, this is gonna be, like, upsetting, so forewarning, what I'm about to say is upsetting. The baby she was pregnant with came out of her body and floated up on, like, land. That's just that's just how it works. I know that's horrible, and maybe one day I'll talk about Lady Lacey Peterson, if I haven't already. I feel like a lot of the cases that I've, like, covered in the back have been, like, sporadic, all over the place, and I'd like to redo them. I don't know if I'm going to. A lot of people said they liked them. I feel like I've calmed down a little bit, but, yeah. So, back to the Netflix documentary. I was like, "Well, if she would have fell off the boat, she could have swam." Oh my gosh, that, like, haunted me all night long. She was right there, next to land. That is why I said that. I think that the Netflix documentary was done really good. I really recommend you go on there and watch it. If you see me, please don't judge me. Seriously, I would have judged me. Um, not going to edit this video. I haven't been monetized and I haven't been able to jump on YouTube in a really long time. So if you hear like or like weirdness or stuttering, I apologize. I just wanted to get this information out. I really wanted to push this response to it. I also wanted to like talk about Amy again because I enjoy the fact that she's not been forgotten in the media. I think it's a great case. I think that you should really take your time to look at what happens on cruise ships. There are hundreds of thousands of people that go missing on cruise ships, and it doesn't sound like it's getting any better. Like there's a whole thing about what's going on Carnival cruise ships lately. I suppose that's another video. So yeah, I'm really glad that I made this video. I'm really glad that you took your time to watch this video. I'm hoping to come back to YouTube because I love you guys. I love making videos. I love covering cases and like telling the world about things that they really need to know. I won't pretend that I'm the best at this. Like I've never went to school for like editing videos. Sometimes I like stutter, sometimes I get nervous. I'm not like, you know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just your average girl. And then I just but I want to come back. So tell me what you think about this case. Tell me what you think about the documentary. If you really want to watch something cringy, you can watch my past video of the Amy Bradley thing. I did watch it, and I have to say, I stand by all the facts that I brought with that. I think I did a good job. I wish I was a little more chill back in the day. And yeah, so that's it. I also, before I leave, just want to talk about what's happening with me and videos. I'm making my first ever short movie coming up. I'm really excited about that. I did do a fundraiser for it because I'm crowdsourcing, I don't know, raising money. Anyway, I'm gonna put my little go get 'em, watch 'em. I made a little spiel about it. If you're interested, you could check it out. If you wanna donate to it, you can. If you don't, that's totally cool. That's I just thought I would throw it in there because, like, I'm getting my 5 seconds of fame. But once again, I just wanna say I made this video for Amy Bradley and Amy Bradley's family, and I hope everybody takes a moment to watch it because cruise ships, they're no joke. And if you are a young woman or someone that they want, you best believe they're going to come up with a plan. And just, if you do take a cruise, be on guard. Like, I think you're in a hotel and you're safe. And even in hotels, you're not safe. Like, I could tell you a whole story about people in hotels. I won't do that right now. But, like, just, you know, be smart, be safe, be smart. And as always, thank you for coming. Think about subscribing. Please leave a comment. Give me a thumbs up. You guys watch my videos. You don't say anything. You run away. I know it's rough. Everybody has their feelings. But I would love if you left some feelings, even if it's like, I suck, you suck, Detroit Alley Cat. Like, I would like that. It'd be great. For real. So, anyway, as always, stay safe, stay spooky, and come back to the next video. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.